All right. I am so excited to be chatting with my friend and someone I've admired for a very long time, Bill Welychka, former Much Music VJ, broadcaster, radio announcer, television host. The accolades go on and on. Bill, you are a fixture in the Canadian media landscape and specifically here at home in Kingston, Ontario. And you have done all of us a great service by putting out this book. This is the first one, The Happy Has Been. And behind me, we've now got a second edition. So I just wanted to welcome you and say thank you so much for interviewing with me for booknotification.com. We're so excited for the second edition of the book. Hello to you.
Thank you so much. What a great introduction. I can say all those beautiful, kind things about you too, Care. Absolutely.
I've got to start by saying that I'm a total dork for you, Bill. I have to say that. I am a millennial. Okay. I was born in 1982, which means I was coming into music and figuring music out in 1995, 1996. And this was peak Much Music era. This is when we would congregate around the television. It was channel 29. We'd get the VHS ready to press record. And I think I still have some old VHS tapes of some of your interviews, the music videos, and you and a very elite staff of VJs were really introducing music and making such an impression on kids who were so excited to really learn about music. I mean, I learned about the hip from you. And in fact, if I'm going to get super dorky, I met you when you were interviewing Janet Jackson.
You've told me that story and we never posed for a picture.
No, we did not. I was just sort of like in this sphere because I really wanted to become somebody who worked in broadcasting. So, I mean, yourself, Rick Campanelli, Devin Soltendieck, when we're watching these incredible VJs, you know, kids like me who were ready to go into broadcasting, were trying to emulate you guys. You were setting a bar for all of us. And I'm with a career like you've had, I mean, how much thanks do we owe you for putting it all down in a book? And now a second book.
Yeah, it's the first book. A lot of people think it's a brand new book. It's called the second edition just because it continues where the first book ends and it brings it right up to date. But in the promotion of the book, a lot more stories started to come out. And I started writing them down going, oh, this should have been in the book. This should have been in the book. So there's a lot more stories in addition, but as well as the great big long ending. And there's more pictures as well. So
let's go all the way to the beginning of your career. I mean, I know that you had been working in media broadcasting. This opportunity sort of jumps out at you. Explain to me how you go from a dude who was working in broadcasting to being a VJ on this brand new music station. How did that happen for you?
I got hired as an editor at Much right out of college. Same week I graduated, I got this job as an editor. And that's what I love doing. I love editing. I love producing. I love telling a story. I love taking elements of music and maybe an interview and a live performance and another interview bit, an older one, and connecting everything and telling a story. It's, there's a million ways of doing an hour special. And I love that creation. I love that thought process and the editing and moving things around and bringing in an idea and introducing another idea and have it go here and there. So I love editing. And I was a big country fan at the time. And this was around the time of, it's called the New Traditionalism movement, where like Dwight Yoakam, Randy Travis, and Steve Earle all had their debut albums come out at the same time. I was so into alternative that none of my friends listened to country. And to me, it was alternative because I've never listened to it before. And then from those guys, you go back and you listen to George Jones and Waylon Jennings and Johnny Cash and those greats and Merle Haggard. And then you realize there's this whole world that I'm missing out on. And all these music videos were started to come out, of country music videos. And we weren't playing them, but these videos kept coming out. And so I submitted a proposal for a country show for Much. And one ended up going on the air, and they asked me to host it while the original host went away on mat leave, Denise Donlin. Thanks to Denise Donlin and Murray McLaughlin having sex and having a child, I sort of was asked to fill in for her mat leave. And then when she came back, we continued to co-host. And then I became the sole host of the country show, all the while still working behind the scenes because I love that. And then I became a VJ after that, regular flow VJing, when they decided to put an end to the country show because a whole new network started up in Canada. So a 90-minute weekly country show couldn't compete with a brand new network. So yeah, they moved me over to regular flow programming and did that for many, many years until I went to MuchMoreMusic and did that for 5 years before I sort of became disillusioned with entertainment television and where it was going. Anyway, that's sort of the short version. But the cool thing about the book, all those nice things that you said, in promoting the book and doing all these book tours and meeting people at book signings, so many comments about what MuchMusic meant to them, because we don't have it anymore. You're right. And it was something that you rushed home to watch new music videos, to watch interviews with your favorite artists, or to fall in love with an artist you've never been exposed to by watching a live interview or a live performance. Anyway, hearing all these comments about what MuchMusic meant to them, what my interviews meant to them, was mind-blowing to me. And you don't really know any impact, if any, you're making while you're going through it. You're just doing it. And I think you need 10, 15 years away from something to miss it, to regard it in a high fashion, and an importance, and what it meant to Canada and the music industry, and what it meant to viewers, and what it meant to artists, and you don't hear that until years and years later. So that's where we're at now. And what a gift.
I can imagine it probably feels a little insular, right? Because you go to work every day. The fact that your work is in the television sets of all of these, hundreds of thousands of people who are watching so intently and are listening to those untold stories, because, those artists are not accessible to us. Mm-hmm. We just put them on these pedestals and they play this great music and we want to see their shows, but then you're bringing them to us in a way we never had before.
Not just in your living rooms, but also inviting you in. You said you enjoyed Janet Jackson, meeting her, and it was a live event, and we did that a lot. Mm-hmm. And giving the artist not just exposure, but bringing the viewers and the fans closer to the artist. And that was one of the magical things about what Much was doing. And, MTV did it with TRL, but they did it years after we started doing it. And
I think everybody remembers the garage window that we used to go and congregate around as you would cram into the streets when, there was going to be a live and interactive in the Much studios, and
banging on those windows. I'm trying to work and people are banging on the window, waving, wanting to say hi. And I'd go out and say hi to them. And and you find out years later how magical those days were for people. And
absolutely.
What it meant to people. And again, you need all those years later to look back fondly and realize, and being told, and this is the humble thing. This is the humbling thing. And I'm grateful and feel like it's been a gift all these years later to have done that, because you hear it from people, just what it meant to them. And what a beautiful position to be in, to be on the receiving end of all that.
I can imagine as well that there had to have been a time in peak 90s where you knew that Much was on the precipice of greatness, that you guys were building something that was really, really big for Canadians.
Again, you don't know it at the time. You hear that, Moist is selling a lot of albums, but they're not on the radio. Why? Well, because of MuchMusic playing their videos.
Right.
You hear stories like that, or you hear stories and it goes in one ear and out the other. And again, it's not until years later where you realize, man, we did make a difference. And people have told me they miss it. And I'd be at a book signing and there'd be a lineup, thankfully. Sometimes there was no one there, but then sometimes people show up and there would be a lineup. And you'd hear from parents telling their kid, who was maybe 14, 13 years old, explaining MuchMusic. And the kid would be like, what, you just couldn't go to your computer and watch a video? And they're like, didn't have computers. There was no
Nope.
YouTube.
Yep.
But at one book signing, I met a 14-year-old who was a huge Marilyn Manson fan because he saw one of my interviews on YouTube.
Wow.
And
Cool.
so, it's amazing the reach it had, and the not just reach, but the influence and the difference it made.
And what's amazing about your book, Bill, and I have to ask you this question because it always boggles my mind about how much content is in this book and then extenuating on to the second edition. What kind of, I mean, you're fortunate in the sense that, so many, your interviews were all captured on video, so you're able to go back and reflect on them. But how much did you do journaling? Like, what did you do to be able to capture these memories so intently and so mesmerizing that you were able to convey them the way that you have in these books?
I have some archives over the years that I eventually went from VHS to DVD, and then I digitized a lot of them, and a lot of them are on my YouTube channel. Some of them I've found online that I didn't have. Yeah, it's just, there's a lot of stories of the interviews and a lot of direct quotes taken from those interviews. And a lot of those are from my own archives or ones that I found online, or ones that people have sent me. And a lot of articles done on those interviews as well. I have a pretty big archive of articles done on me. And I poured through a lot of those. Some of them right from the Wig here in Kingston with Jan Murphy. Asked me to write for the Wig for a good 5 or 6 years and recounted a lot of interviews that way as well. So I use those as a jumping off point. And I thank the Wig for allowing me to do that. And so yeah, a lot of it is stuff that I had to research and find out where it was. And then for the second edition, there was a lot of interviews that weren't in the first one that I met someone at one of the Much Doc screenings. MuchMusic had a documentary as the book was coming out. The first one, it was really weird. All this, my past was like hitting me in the face for about 6 months. It was weird. But met someone that worked in the library that was slowly digitizing all these old interviews. And I asked for a whole bunch that I could put in the second edition as well. So,
and now you have also, aside from being a Much VJ, being a broadcaster, being a novelist, you're also a movie star. Oh boy.
Oh. I spoke with Jay Maddaw today, actually, and yeah, Still Alive in Kingston was a film that it was about 10 months to work on, off and on, and I lost my job here in Kingston halfway through. But the movie talks about me losing a job, and it was just like art imitating life, imitating art.
Yeah.
It's not all mixed up in the same thing. It's a fictitious look at my life. I play myself, but he took some creative liberties. And he took some creative liberties, and it's a lot of fun. What I love most about the film, though, is that it features Kingston area musicians.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what I love.
Well, that's it. I mean, I think like at the core, when you read this book and as we get into the second edition and you watch the interviews, Bill, you take such a vetted interest in the artist as a person. And not to say that the music comes second, but rather, getting to learn the person who's creating the music we've all fallen in love with. So then we fall in love with the person. And I think that is a very cool way of interviewing these artists, is you're really taking an in-depth look as who they are as people, what led them to write the song, what led them to getting into that part of their career. And so I guess really my question is, who did you find? I mean, maybe you can't even just come up with one, but who was really fascinating to you when you were getting into those interviews with them?
Oh my God, so many. And there's the obvious ones like Bowie, like Jagger, like Madonna, Bon Jovi, but a lot of bands that I'm a huge fan of, like Dave Grohl and the Tragically Hip and The Cure. There's just so many, and I love Oasis, and they were always, despite their reputation as being hooligans, I found the guys to be gracious. I'm talking about Liam and Noel. Funny, extremely smart, and always a great interview because they were entertaining. They're like naturally just gifted. And to say whatever's on the top of your mind can sometimes be dangerous, but it's also very funny, and they give great television.
You have really spanned your career over so many various ways of being a part of the media, but I can imagine that even going as a broadcaster and an editor and even a columnist, it doesn't necessarily translate to being a novelist. Tell me about what it was like to step out of the comfort zone and put it all on paper in this medium.
Well, the good thing is I didn't really set out to write a book. Around COVID, all these new podcasters were coming up, and I kept being asked to, do you want to be a guest on the podcast? We'll talk about your career and where you're at now and talk about music. And I started writing down stories of things that I was remembering. And one day on my computer, I just started organizing them. And then with every interview I was doing, I was adding to it, much like what happened to launch the second edition. But one day I looked down at my computer and realized, I think I might have a book here. This is weird. Kept adding to it. And then I started adding things, moving things around, and then realized I do have a book, and I don't think there's anything else like it out there. There's been some books on MuchMusic, and a good start was, I know what I didn't want the book to be. I didn't want it to be the ramblings of some old guy going, let me tell you about the time I interviewed Mick Jagger. It had to have a little bit more meat in it, a little bit more depth, and I like to think it does, and that's been the response. And and part of the title is lessons learned.
Right.
And I share them throughout the book. Some of them I overtly explain. I think this is a good lesson that everyone should learn. Sometimes it's my own stupidity and make a mistake. And then I talk about that and realize that, we all make mistakes, but we can all learn from them.
Well, and the title, so poignant, so funny, a little bit of sarcasm. I love this so much. A happy has been. The second one with the second edition attached to it. I really
who's the forward written by?
Oh, who was the forward written by? Oh, let's go in here. I think if I'm right to say it.
Right on the cover.
Right here. Paul Langlois of the Tragically Hip. I didn't even
met Paul. I remember that day.
I do. I have met Paul. Which, I mean, I can only imagine for where you are in your career to not only have championed all of these incredible artists, but for some of those who have remained friends to you, I'm sure they are celebrating alongside you, especially people like Paul. And just to see, where you've taken this massive career and really made it a legacy for yourself. And you have. And I think that is so incredible for you. But I love the fact that you're still pursuing a career inside of everything that you've already done. And I think that is so wonderful for you. I think that is something worth congratulating, that it wasn't just a time in your life. It's something that you're able to continue celebrating going forward. And I think that's really cool, Bill.
Well, thank you. Much like you, I'd like to think I love this community of Eastern Ontario, of Kingston. And if I get asked, much like you, if you want to MC a gig, if I have that weekend off, if I have that day off, I'm going to do it because I love people. I love meeting people. I share their passion for music, especially if it's a music festival or a concert or a community gathering of people in a park listening to music. It's the most important thing in my life. I think music, it always has been. It's a friend on long drives when you're alone. It gets you through terrible times. We celebrate with music. It transports you. You can look around at a concert and be in the middle of 10,000 strangers and you're all sharing that same joy. I love that feeling.
Right. And, well, I just saw some photos of you pop up online that you were out with your friend Chantel over the weekend.
Yeah. Line Spike Festival. Yeah, Tom Green was there. I got a little shout out from the stage from him. That was funny. I saw Alan Frew from Glass Tiger. I've interviewed those guys many times. I've interviewed Alan in France before. So a lot of these festivals with names coming through town, it's almost like catch up, and that's always fun.
Which I just think speaks so much to such a very cool career, which you have encapsulated not only in this first book, but the fact that it spawned a sequel is so unbelievably cool. So, of course, everybody's going to ask the same question that I am. Are we going to get a third?
Nope, that's it. Nope.
You sure?
Stops at 2. Stops
Yeah.
at 2. Yes, that's it.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
am.
It kind of
I
sounds
am
like a dare,
spent.
Bill. It almost sounds like a dare. It is so unbelievably rad, especially for those of us, like I said, who lived on MuchMusic. I think, I didn't eat food. I think I just lived on MuchMusic. And what you do so well in the book is you make it relatable. You make it relatable that you were a kid just like us. That just had this very cool opportunity and brought all these great people to us. And I thank you for that. And I also think people are going to enjoy all the photos that you've included in the books for us as well.
Yeah, there's a few. I got when you mentioned Paul doing the forward, the first thing I thought of is just a big shout out to the boys from the hip. I'm a fan first and foremost, but all the guys are beautiful human beings. They're very sweet. They're generous with their time. The amount of work they do for charity. What we've seen is, I think, half of what they actually do. They do a lot of stuff without waving a flag on their involvement. They're amazing human beings. I love them, and you could see why not just the whole country, but people from all over the world cherish this band.
Right.
And we all miss Gord Downey for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you so much.
Oh my God, Chair, thank you.
Putting the book out for starters, and now we've got the second edition as well. People can pick this up actually at your website, billwelychka.com. Got some great galleries and
.ca.
.ca. I apologize. .ca. Billwelychka.ca. But you can go on there and you can check out not only how to get the first copy of the book, but also the second edition, which just was released this spring. Plus, there's links there as well to Still Alive in Kingston, which is a great flick if you get a chance to go and check that out. A celebration, a fictitious but yet still a celebration of Bill Welychka's life. Bill, what are you doing now? How can people find you? You're still here in Kingston. What's going on for you?
Well, a lot of people know about the layoffs that happened here in Kingston and actually all over Canada in different markets. After 35 years of being in broadcasting, I thought, okay, that's it. I think I'm done, which is weird. I know I wanted to stay in Kingston. I have a friend that works at Gananoque Chev, and it's a beautiful dealership with a great reputation that also give back to the community, and they've been around for years. And so I am in sales, so selling Buicks, GMC, and Chevy products, and haven't sold a Corvette yet. That is my goal.
It's coming. It's coming. I tell you,
I
feel
hope so. That would be a beautiful day if I could sell a Corvette. And one of the things that I said when I sort of this relationship with Gan Chev started, I said, I'm not a salesman, I'm not aggressive. And they said, we don't want you to be, just want you to talk to people. And that's what you do. Find out their needs, find out their wants, see how we can make that happen. And so in a weird way, I'm kind of doing the same thing, and that is meeting people and assisting them, hopefully assisting them. And it's been great. It's a great group there, and I meet people all the time. And so that's what I've been doing. So if you're in the market for a new car, come on down, especially a Corvette. I really want to sell a Corvette.
And then you can also take a Happy Has Been second edition with you on road trips in your new car.
Exactly. I just thought of something. Get a car. Mm-hmm. And I'll see if I can get you a book. So spend a lot of money on a book, and then you get a free car. How about that?
I like the things. You are a salesman at your heart. Bill Welychka, super stoked to be able to chat with you. Of course, you'll find out more about A Happy Has Been and the second edition right here on our site at booknotification.com. So make sure you check that out. And Bill, we love you so much. Congratulations.
Congratulations on you and your recent wedding as well. I know there's a select few there, but beautiful people that all love you and Jan, and I'm part of that group. I love you guys so much.
Thanks so much, Bill.